Hello, everybody. I am Carissa Dez.
And I am Zane Thomas.
And this is Off the Cuff. Our special guest today is Falling Alice.
Hello, everybody.
AKA Tristan in the house.
Bruh.
I'm back. I've been gone for a couple weeks. We were gone last week, and then I got stuck in LA the week prior to that. So I'm glad to be back at our little studio.
Yo, you made it.
Yeah.
You made it.
Yep. Tristan, can you tell us a little bit about your music? Like what?
Yeah.
Because I asked you what type of music it was, and you're like, well, that's an interesting question.
I was going to say, first off, thank you guys for just having me here.
For sure.
Because, I've seen a couple episodes so far.
Thank you for watching.
I was very stoned for one of them, and it was really surreal. And I was just and that was like, I watched the one with Xavier with V-Dead.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
it was like me being very high watching this, and I'm just like, I need to be there.
Yeah. Well, here you are. You manifested that.
Thank you for having me here. And the whole studio's sick.
Thank you. Little shout out really quick to Bang Studio Lab and Philip with Halo Space, our sound guy. If you wanna rent out the space for a show, hit us up because you and I have been talking about doing that actually.
Yes, and
Yeah.
Hopefully in the future.
I'd love to be throwing a show here at some point. My name's Falling Alice. I've been making music for most of my life. But the last 11 years I've been posting stuff online.
Okay.
I'm 24. So I started posting stuff. Yeah, I started posting stuff on Reverb Nation.
Okay.
Back in 2010, 2011.
Okay.
So you've been making music for a really long time, but
Yes.
you haven't been sharing it the entire time.
Yes. So before that, I was making music in bands.
Mm-hmm.
But so then it was 7th grade. Started making a lot of electronic music.
Cool. In 7th grade?
In 7th grade.
Shoot. Okay. I was always
When I started
wishing I was
posting-
that cool in 7th grade. I'm like, yeah.
I mean, then I
that's
look
cool
at
that
the
you're
DMs
actually
I
doing
sent
it.
people back in 7th grade trying to promote my music, and I'm like,
Nice.
oh no. I would hit up random people who I just vaguely knew, and I just awkwardly say hello to them, but I'd spell
"Hi, I'm
everything
13."
incorrectly. I would
Nice.
spell everything wrong, and I'd be like, hey, please listen to this.
But I mean, you were doing it though.
I
You
was
were putting
trying to do it.
Well, no, you were doing it. You were putting yourself out there. You were making music. So I commend you for that. And I think that other people probably thought that was pretty impressive too.
My first time reaching out and trying to share music probably looks very similar. So
Oh, yeah.
don't sweat it.
100%.
So as far as making music and stuff, did you work with production or just lyric writing?
So this goes through waves of my life. So, say 7th, 8th grade, I start producing, right? Then somehow in 8th grade, everyone starts knowing me as the rapper. I don't know how this happened, but somehow someone read my energy as he's a rapper, and
I'm a rapper now. Okay,
enough
guys.
people made fun of me for this, or just referred to me as the rapper, that I sort of was forced into it. And so at the time, this is say 9th grade, somehow I'm so white. I was listening to a bunch of nerdcore hip hop,
Cool.
MC Frontalot, MC Lars. So that whole
You know who that
weird-
is, right, Zane?
MC Chris? Oh yeah, no, nerdcore.
You know-
I figured
okay,
you
so
would. I don't know
you
who that is,
is.
but
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I can vouch.
And I was 8th grade, 9th grade. I was so into that. And so I was really wanting to start a nerdcore rap group back then.
so nerdcore rap. I don't think I've ever heard of that before. Is it
Basically,
just hey yo? It's kind of like the Beastie Boys, but with a nerdier
But way nerdier.
thing going.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's basically just intentionally yo, this is a song about Boba Fett.
Ah,
Yeah.
all right.
Very
Like Dungeons and
specifically.
Dragons.
Yeah.
Rap. Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
I got out of that.
Talking to the mic.
Sorry.
Good.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, no, I've never done podcast with an actual mic, so
you're all good.
we out here and learning.
We are.
But
Well,
yeah.
we're glad to be your first your first podcast with a mic.
Yeah, welcome.
But yeah, no. So yeah, I was doing that, and that kind of I was starting to write around then, and then I started being okay, I'm actually gonna attempt to make something more serious. So then high school, I was experimenting. I was producing a bit, not a lot. I was rapping a bit, not a lot. And then final year of high school is right when I was just okay, I'm gonna actually start putting out actual albums.
Okay.
And then I got heavily into writing. And then there was like a 4-year period of just, I was struggling to figure out how to like record the way I wanted it to sound. So all I do is write and produce.
Okay.
And then
so when you said that you released albums, like how long is like an album for you? Like, are you talking like 10 songs, 5 songs, 12?
The longest album I've done was like 12 songs.
Okay. Gotcha.
But so I don't know. I put out a lot of EPs. I'll put out something like a 2-song project, a 3-song project, a 5-song project, a 7-song project, a 12-song project.
Okay. So you don't
all
really
over the place, just kind of when I have enough things that exist that I'm like, this can go someplace.
Okay.
So did you put it out electronically, your first albums, or was it?
So
because back in my day, I was putting out little mixtapes that I recorded on my little Walkman or like my little stereo system. So just like recording like straight to that, and then I had another. I think I talked about this a little bit before on our show, but I had another little Walkman that was playing beats, and then I would record my voice and the beats to this like little radio with a tape. I just press record on there.
That is cool.
It sounded really cool. I mean, it had its own sound for sure. But I'd imagine you're a bit younger than we are, so you probably started off, digitally.
So I was doing it all digital, but then I was trying to like 8th grade, I was burning CDs. And that was a good feeling, being like, oh my God, I've got the CD. It's my music. I can play it in the car.
For a while, cars will have CD players.
Hey, mine still does.
We're not in the future yet.
I don't use it, but...
But yeah, so like that was happening. Oh, and then like most of the first project I was putting out, it was mainly all Bandcamp. And I was pretty much just doing Bandcamp for a while. And then at a certain point, when I put out a project called Postmodern Depressionism, which came out in 2018.
All right.
That was the first thing I released any kind of physical, and I did a cassette run for that that nobody bought, but I did one. So
yeah, you did it. That's the point. Like
you can sell those later. You know, they didn't catch them on the first run; they can catch them on the second.
Oh yeah, after the classic.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, as far as like getting your music out to people, what do you find is like the most consistent, most rewarding way of getting music to people?
Well, I guess the most, maybe not consistent or rewarding, but I would say the most interesting way.
Okay.
Is so a couple years ago, so I got my music on Pandora back in like 2020, and at the time I was like, I had the thought in my brain, I'm like, Pandora seems to have the kind of algorithm that would be the most fair for artists to gain growth on.
Okay.
And I was telling people back then, I think this is probably the way, and everyone's just like, you're crazy. And then it was like a month ago that I started getting 1.5K on Pandora.
Well,
no other of my streaming services had anywhere close.
I forgot about Pandora. Sorry, Pandora. But we need to get our stuff on there, man.
Yes.
The analytics are so nice. You can go in and see a map of like every person who's added your song to like have a station based on it. You can see where they live.
Yeah, you can. Whoa, that's kind of creepy.
It's just like, oh my God.
That's cool. But then you said where they live.
Very too deep. But like,
it tells you their address. So you can go to their house, knock on their door, and say, "Thank you so much for adding me to your playlist."
But like, no one talks about Pandora in the way of being like actually like a good system.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me,
nobody talks about it.
When I was using Pandora,
I'm glad that 1,000, 1,200 or whatever people are listening to your music on there, and I need to get on that tip.
Yeah, no, I've been trying to just get people on the wave. I've been trying to just spread the word, like, please get on Pandora. It's great.
Well, hey, you're promoting that shit. Because we're about to drop our stuff on there now.
You can click your song, and then it can tell you the top 10 stations that people have been finding your song through.
Cool.
And so you can be like, oh, this person was listening to Currency, and they somehow found me. This person was listening to Flying Lotus, and they somehow found me. This person was listening to Kool and the Gang, and they somehow found me. Which is super trippy to look at.
Yeah.
And just be like, okay, like, how many degrees of separation is my music from this thing, and how did it appear there?
Yeah, and it's cool, like, you know, maybe one of these bands are, like, one of your favorite bands or something, and, like, just being... having the same listeners as like your favorite band would be pretty cool. And also, I don't know if you do this or not, but on social media, you should actually use their hashtag like the people who are finding you through these like Kool in the Gang, maybe like hashtag Kool in the Gang or something. I don't know, just a thought.
I mean, so I need to start doing that because I've been needing some social media tips.
Yeah, I got you.
But yeah, no, it showed me a list recently of the people that like, the artists that they think I'm similar to. It was a weird list. The list was Bones, Flying Lotus, DJ Shadow.
Okay.
And then some random like piano station. And I'm like, okay, this is a weird list of music, but I feel like I get it.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, analytics can be extremely important. Just figuring out like where your music's going to, the avenues it's getting to, and like where to refocus some of that attention.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's really cool. So as far as production, what would you say was the place that you started with production? Did you start on like FL Studio?
I started on a DAW that no one's ever heard of called
Have you heard of it?
I think it was Magix. It was Magix.
Okay.
It was
you're 100% correct. I've never heard of that.
I was hoping it was something that I knew so I could be like, you know what?
Yeah, I actually have heard of that. I have not, so you're correct.
It was the kind of thing that so I was trying to code video games really briefly. This is the whole phase. And I was using some software, and they had stock music.
Okay.
And this is back in like 2012. And I heard a song, and it sounded weirdly like a song I had made on Magix with a bunch of loops. And then I went, "Oh no," because it clicked in my head.
It was your song?
No, it was just
okay.
Because my level of production back then was just a lot of stock loops and trying to make stuff with that. And so then hearing someone else's song used for a game that they chose the exact same progression and loops as I did on the same obscure software that no one's ever heard of was really weird.
Yeah. Must have been like validating in a sense too, seeing that.
Kind of validating and kind of not validating, being like, oh my God, I did the most generic thing I could have possibly done with a sample.
Yeah, but that's a good place to start though.
100%. And that taught me how to like actually like write music and like construct something.
For sure.
But yeah, like early production was a lot of loops and then trying to do things with my voice and then chop my voice. So that was a lot of like old production of mine.
So as far as like vocals and stuff, I've noticed that you use a lot of effects and stuff.
I like effects.
You like effects. What do you think is the inspiration for using as many effects as you do?
You mentioned Beastie Boys earlier. I feel like Beastie Boys had a huge influence on me.
Yeah, that was actually my next question, was which bands influenced your music growing up.
So not even that
kind of ties into that.
Not even that I listen to Beastie Boys that much anymore. But like the sound of just like sort of like the megaphone effect, just like the heavily EQ'd, just like kind of abrasive, harsh tone. That is a sound that I feel like they had that I latched onto. And maybe it was the fact that I was using equipment that was pretty bad for a while. Like the first like 2 projects I made was all on my laptop mic. So like maybe that's kind of why I played into that aesthetic, being like, well, I can't get a better audio quality, so what if I degrade it?
Yeah, no, I mean that's I think that's always really cool when like artists use the equipment that they have at the time in a way that even though they may not have the best equipment, they find a way to make it sound its best.
Yes.
And I like that.
Sure.
And I like that you try to continue making that similar sound on purpose too, intentionally. Because you're like, this is how I started. Now I'm going to continue making it sound like this, but a little bit more polished. Right?
Yeah. And slowly I've developed new things, being like, oh, okay, what if I like tweaked, like trying to get to the in-between place of sounding clean and also sounding lo-fi. That is something that's been hard because a lot of people will be like, yeah, I've heard a lot of people criticize my music for being too distorted sometimes. And it definitely has been. And I feel like it's pretty valid. So I'm definitely working on balancing these, but I also don't want to get away from my roots and just kind of like the sound that I've had. Yeah. I do feel like it's kind of unique to me. There's not a lot of people rapping with that kind of tone. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally don't mind effects and what's it called? The voice changers.
Vocoders?
Huh?
Vocoders?
I don't know what that is, but sure.
Auto-tune?
Auto-tune, yeah. Is it the same thing?
Yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah, like I enjoy that stuff, and I think you can use whatever the hell you want in your music as long as you get it to where you want it to sound. Like when you picture it or like hear it in your head, getting it to that point, like whatever means necessary. Like use somebody else's voice and bring it over and add it to this beat that you made, you found, but you finished it or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm all for, because like electronic music is all electronic anyway, and like I don't know, that's just the way that I look at it. But I do know that some people are very anti that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like autotune is its own art form. It's its own entire thing. It's yeah, I don't know. Like people who criticize autotune, I don't get it. It's like this is basically its own instrument.
It's 2023.
We're learning this instrument. Like yeah, a laptop's an instrument. Yeah. An autotune mic's instrument. Like anything's an instrument if you take time to learn it and appreciate it.
And use it to like I think it can be said about effects as like that dry wet, like knob makes a huge difference. Like if you're putting everything like super on the wet side and it's like you're just oversaturating everything with reverb and effect, like then it's like too much. But if you can take any effect and use it to like a degree that it's accentuating it instead of just making it just this crazy thing that you can never recreate, like
yeah, no, for sure.
So as far as lyrical content, what would you say that you like to talk about?
Video game production, right? Sorry. Huh? Go ahead.
wait. What'd you say?
Oh, video game production creation.
That was such an old hobby that went nowhere. So I can't flex that I do that, even though I wish I could, but I can't flex that I do that.
Okay.
Because all the actual coders will just laugh at me. But so my content, I don't know, like, so I just put out an album called The Decapitation of the Whack MCs because
I like your names for your albums and your songs.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
But like many years all I was writing was just like battle rap shit.
Sure.
So like rapping against imaginary opponents that don't exist. And so I had so many lines about this just written over the course of like many years, most of them from 2018, 2019. And for a while I felt like I was being like really held back by this because I liked all these lyrics and I'm like, I want these to go someplace. Like I want people to hear these because I feel like this is something I am proud of. And for a long time I couldn't figure out how to like release it in a way that I liked it. So finally I was like, okay, I will release a project with all of these lyrics about decapitating whack rappers. It'll just be a concept album about that. No any other topics. And then hopefully that will make me feel almost like I got that out of my system and I can move on into a new phase.
Yeah.
Like just really go hard in it until you're sick of doing it.
And I feel like immediately
that's my
after
method
I did
of doing
this, I feel like I released it. I feel like I put it out and I feel like things started changing and it felt like I got something like, it felt like a long time coming and almost like I was stuck in 2018. And then doing that, it brought me into 2022.
Yeah, yeah. No, it sounds like it was really cleansing in the sense of being able to use something that you'd created and that you were proud of, but at the same time be able to grow and move on to the next phase.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Yeah, gotcha.
I would like to hear some of your music. I've heard a little bit of it, but you sent me a couple tracks, and like I said, when I asked what type of music you make, you're like, well, I make all types of music. So I'm like, send me your best stuff. So I'm excited to hear.
And yeah, I feel like
one of your favorite songs of yours
to Philip are I feel like the things I was planning on playing is a very diverse set.
Okay.
Of because I'd like to be able to show my range of just like the things I make that are all over the place. But yeah.
What's the name of the song?
Let's. Should I perform?
Oh, are you going to be performing this one? Let's go, yeah.
Should we start with the music video?
Whichever you want to do.
Let's start with the music video.
We're ready for anything.
Let's play the Nothing
here.
music video.
This is off the cuff. Like, we don't even know what's going to happen here. And that's what makes it interesting for me anyway.
And let's hear, we're going to play the Nothing video. So back in 2020, I met this dude named Tommy Calgren at Starbucks. So yeah.
Shout out Tom McCalgren.
I hang out at the Starbucks in Bethany, in Northwest, where I used to live. And I'd hang out there every day pretty much.
Right.
I would always be like producing or like editing video at Starbucks. And I've now developed friendships with like 10 people just because they all do the same thing, just artists who hang out at Starbucks. And so yeah, met Tommy, and he was like, "Oh, you make videos and you make music. I do photos and videos. Let's work." So yeah, we started working together on a series of 3 music videos for like this electronica EP I put out. And so yeah, I was gonna play the video that like
this is you and Tommy.
Yes.
Okay.
This is me and Tommy's collab for my song Nothing. And this is like the biggest production of a music video that like I've definitely done.
Okay.
Where like we had to build sets and garages for this. We had extras. And like I've done a lot of filmmaking over the years, but always very small scale. And so yeah, working with him was awesome. And the kind of thing where like, yeah, we wrote together at Starbucks outside after they closed until like midnight every night, trying to come up with a treatment. Yeah. And then, but yeah.
Awesome. Well, check that out.
Let's go.
Yeah. Like.
Awesome.
And we are back. Yeah. That was a really cool music video.
Yeah.
You directed that?
Yes. Okay. So yeah. Directed that. Shot by Tommy. Me and Tommy wrote it together. He shot it. We co-directed.
Nice.
I acted. My acting is terrible, but I feel
like
I feel like I got like a better performance than normal.
So yeah. Well, as I told you, I've been on a lot of music videos for artists around town lately. And I think it's really good experience for new actors because you don't really have to do much. You just like Anyway, so
I definitely.
But it looks great.
I definitely want like one of the things that I feel like makes me stand apart that I at least want to play into more is the fact that I've been a filmmaker as long as I've been putting music out on the internet. Yeah. Same exact amount of time.
Wow.
So it's like, I feel like I want to like. Laurie Anderson said this at one point of I am a multimedia artist and just like kind of what that means. And I'm like, yes, I identify with that.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I'm a multimedia artist. I don't think I'm happy doing one medium. I want to do all mediums and then combine them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm right there with you.
That's part of the reason I wanted to play the video instead of just playing like a song because it feels like what's true to like me And I feel like playing both of them is a lot more true to me than just playing the song.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I was having a conversation with you, you were mainly talking about your videography and like your career in that. So it sounds like, would you say that you put more focus into your videography or your music lately?
I put so much focus into getting shows and performing right now. Mm-hmm. The videography is something I want to be doing. And I wanted, the reason I focus on the videography at all, even though I do want to do it, and one of my dreams is to shoot a feature film in the next year or so, just like super low budget, but I've always wanted to shoot a feature, and I'm like, I think
let's
part
collab.
Of my life,
I got a good idea for a horror film.
Because
I'm not telling anybody because I don't want anybody to take my idea, but I'll tell you.
I feel. I don't know, I feel like part of my life and what I want is to just live the way I want, wander the earth, making whatever projects I want to make. King. If there's anything I want, I wanted to be able to try things in life. Do something, experience it, move on, and be like, hey, I want to accomplish that, or do this thing. I feel like instead of having a life goal of being like, I'm going to do this one thing, I feel like my life goal is just trying different things and walking away with memories.
No, I definitely think that's a great philosophy.
Definitely.
So as far as you kind of gave us an idea of what inspires you as far as other hip hop artists, but what would you say inspires you
for hip hop artists, I will add some stuff right now. Okay. Just what I've been listening to recently. Because I've definitely gotten really into abstract hip hop recently, and I've been listening to a lot of Rock Marciano. He dropped an LP with Alchemist a month ago. Okay. It is so good. That is because I don't know if you guys are familiar with abstract hip hop, which is usually drumless, usually sample based, no drums, and then just a lot of really dense rapping. But yeah, so I've been listening to a lot of Rock Marciano, listening to some Earl, been listening to an MC out of New York called Ka, K-A. I don't know if you know what Ka is.
I've heard Ka.
But yeah, so I've been definitely for a while I stopped listening to rap because I got so OCD with just how into writing I was that the more I'd listen to hip hop, the more I would feel like people were just writing in a way that I'd feel I changed that. And it was I don't know what that was, but it was multiple years of me being it's so hard to listen to things because I'm so in the creative headspace that I immediately figure out what I would like to change about their art. So finally I feel like listening to a lot of just really dense abstract stuff has kind of gotten me out of that headspace, which I've been happy about. Because for the past year, I have enjoyed music again. There was a period of time when I was not enjoying listening to music because there's something in my brain where it's almost overly stimulating, but I had based my entire life around music, and it felt like something I had to be in. So I was making music for a year and a half without appreciating anyone else's music, and the only thing I could handle was the sound of my music, and it was really weird.
Yeah, that is really weird. I personally will. I was just talking to a friend about this yesterday. I'll go through little stages. It's usually just one day or a couple of days where I can't listen to music. It's just all so annoying to me for some reason. I'm an audiophile, or I don't know if I would go that far, but I wake up and listen to music, and I listen to it all day, and I work from home, so it's constantly on. And I go to bed to it. But there's some days where I'm I can't stand listening to this. There's just something that annoys me about every single song. But you said a whole year that? That would be tough for me.
There was
a
whole thing where I woke up one day and my vision was fucked up. I don't know what happened. This was 2017.
Okay.
I woke up, everything was too bright. I started seeing halos around lights. And I started panicking because I had based my entire life on wanting to be a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And I'm shit, I am losing my vision. And then I talked to the eye doctors, and they were just your eyes look fine. And then my vision started getting really bad, and they started continuing to tell me, your vision's fine. And then they gave me contacts. I put the contacts in, it looked identical. So it was very clear, after going to a bunch of different people, that what I was experiencing was entirely
psychological
for some reason. And then after that happened for like a year.
Mm-hmm.
After that happened for a year, then I started noticing the auditory stuff. So that was like a 2-year period of like started with vision, and then it's like, oh no, I don't like any vision. Oh no, now I don't like audio. I'm losing the 2 senses that I based my life on. What do I do? And so like those things still exist, and like I still have weird sensory issues, but they are way less than they were. And now I feel like I'm able, like for a long time I stopped watching movies because I just couldn't. Every time I'd look at the screen, I'd be like, this looks wrong. I can't ID what is wrong with this image, but something's wrong with it.
Do you think that kind of, like you said, OCD or like perfectionist kind of a thing that you had going on with auditory and visual stuff made you a better artist visually? And
I think so.
With your music?
So the one downside is when you're super OCD and irrational about perfection, you get into the headspace of not releasing things when you should be releasing them. And then waiting way too long, and then all the changes you made, no one else noticed. And it's like, okay, I just spent 30 hours making these minute details that no one besides me is ever going to notice. So is that worth it for the art? Or is it like getting in the way of some kind of progress? So I don't really know the answer. But.
Yeah,
I think everybody has a different process.
For sure. So yeah, back to my original question. So you'd said what you had been inspired by with hip hop. What inspired you for electronic?
Okay, so Pandora. So back in like middle school, I got an iPod Touch, and I was introduced to Pandora on it because it was like the first app I got. And I had heard Rockefeller Skank by Fatboy Slim on 94.7 FM. And so I was listening to the rock station a bunch, but every time they would play something that was like electronic or hip hop, I would get super excited. And so like the rock station was really my introduction to a lot of music, well, more like the alternative station. But like, yeah, they'd occasionally play things that are not in the boundaries of alternative. And that got me into Fatboy Slim. And so I started listening to that on Pandora, started giving me more stuff. But so yeah, like my actual taste in electronic music at this point is like I've been listening to a lot of Boards of Canada.
Okay.
I like a lot of trip hop. So like Portishead, Massive Attack.
I like Massive Attack.
Massive Attack is so good.
I feel like I have to be in the right mood for that kind of stuff because it is really, really intense for me anyway. Like that type of music. Yeah. I'm like, I need to listen to trip hop right now. Like I have like a craving.
It's so operatic too sometimes, where it's like very much intense. It's like this is theater, but also like really dark and like. But yeah, no. Chemical Brothers is definitely one of my favorite. Like,
okay,
love Chemical Brothers. Crystal Castles.
Ooh, yes.
Because yeah, like sometimes I get into like a real goth kick. Like, well, just listen to just like hours of just like dark wave and just like really dark, just like Crystal Castles-esque stuff. But sometimes in a like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's sort of my like overall taste of electronic music, and then also like instrumental hip hop.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like DJ Shadow is someone I love, and that borders the line between hip hop and electronic.
Yeah, and you said that you had gotten on people had found your music through like a DJ Shadow on Pandora, so that must have been pretty cool.
I literally called a song Shadow at one point because it was very inspired by DJ Shadow.
Sure.
So then to see that, and it's like, oh, people are finding me through DJ Shadow. I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, that's really cool.
That's cool. I wanted to switch it up a little bit and ask, how do you get ready and like get prepared for getting in the headspace to create a song? Is it just like you are walking along and you think of it? This is how I do it. I walk along, think about something, and then just put it in my notes app or just sing it in my little voice memo thing? Or is it more like you sit down and plan on writing?
So I've done this. Like the voice notes thing is a great trick. I do this all the time where I'll have something in my head and I'll pull it out and I'll just film myself and I'll do like a couple second clip, and then later on, a month later, I actually get in the booth and I like work off that idea. Writing wise, a lot of this is just stuff that I'll take notes in my notepad over the course of a long time. So like, say I'll just think of like one bar that pops in my head, I'll mark it down. And then, say after the course of maybe a month, I'll have written like 8 bars down. Then that's 8 things I can start writing off of. So that's been a lot of how I like start creating like at least written stuff. And then sometimes it's just like, sometimes I'm just like, I want to put a beat on and just make something with no thought.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm so hyper-focused on planning that, like, it's really nice to just not plan and just be like, okay, I'm just going to, I'm just going to try whatever and see what I can get. And sometimes that creates interesting things. And then other times it's just like, okay, I'm just going to produce a song. So sometimes I'll have, like, thought behind a beat. Be like, okay, I have the sample. I want to make something that sounds like this with the sample, step, step, step. But also a lot of times it's just me at Starbucks, being there for 5 hours, off a lot of coffee, just hyper focused on my laptop, just producing nonstop and just like trying to make as many beats as possible.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my creative process for like all of my music stuff. It's all over the place.
Yeah. So I don't want to promote Starbucks. I feel like we've already done a lot of that.
Sorry.
If you're watching, be our sponsor. But I was going to say, like, I know now that if I, like, when I get my music out, I'm going to go to Starbucks and network. Because I was like, this spot to be.
Got the cool
I had no idea.
Starbucks spot.
I mean, I wouldn't, if I wasn't living in Bethany for that long, I would not be going there.
There's not a whole lot for coffee shops in Bethany.
Like, I want to be supporting local coffee shops.
I've been to that Starbucks, and it's one of my favorites. It's like an Art Deco kind of a vibe to it, right? Yeah. Yep.
That's so weird that you've been there. I feel like every time I meet people from like who actually like live in Portland, they don't consider that
what's
Portland.
Bethany?
They don't consider it Portland, even though it is Portland. But and they're like, I've never been there.
Yeah.
But
so like which one do you lean more towards as far as like what you would want to create? Like do you lean more on the instrumental side or do you lean more on the hip hop
so the last project I did was all rapping. I didn't produce it because I had produced so many of my projects and I just wanted this out so much that I tried and I was making a bunch of boom bap beats. And I was like, for a while, I was like just emailing producers off Bandcamp, being like, okay, I need to find, because in my head, I wanted a producer MC project. That's what I wanted. So after emailing like 20 different producers, trying to like find someone who would do a full project with me, realizing I wasn't going to get that, I was like, okay, I'll produce this myself. And then I tried, and every time I tried to record on those beats, I was like, something's not clicking. So then I ended up having to find out individual producers and do it that way. But this was a whole like 3-month process of me trying to figure out what the production was going to be and making stuff and then realizing I don't actually want to be the person creating the instrumental palette for this. I just want to be inspired by someone else's beat that makes me want to rap.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I feel like when you're trying to produce and do the lyrics, it can get very confusing just because you end up hyper-focusing on the beat when you should be hyper-focusing on the lyrics, or you end up hyper-focusing on the lyrics when you should be focusing on the beat. So it's a lot to juggle.
And then, the thing that always like feels weird is when someone compliments the beats, but they don't compliment like the rapping, and I'm like, okay, this did not connect for you. Then
I can definitely relate to that as somebody who produces and does rap as well. So
yeah. So you and I were talking before the show, and you were telling me about I was asking if you perform a lot in Portland, and you told me that you had a pretty big show recently. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
100%. So I just opened for Slug Christ and Kane Groceries. So I've been listening to Slug Christ since 2015.
Okay.
My homie Dirt McSpirt, Jack the Spitter, he put me on to Slug Christ.
Dirt the Smirt, you said?
Dirt McSpirt.
Okay.
Got it.
So he's the guy who got me kind of originally into the Portland scene for hip hop in the first place. I was going to his shows at Slabtown before Slabtown got shut down. And so that was like the first time I was ever going to like hip hop shows out in Portland and maxing down. And so like I've been listening to Slug Christ for for like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had the opportunity, and like I never thought I was going to ever interact with the guy.
Sure.
I was just like, he was just a character who occupied an interesting place in my mind.
Sure. He lived rent-free in your mind.
Yes. I thought about this man's existence a lot because he's just such an interesting dude. And like, I haven't even gone I haven't even like spent that much time listening to his music in the past 8 years. But he's just the kind of person who I just think about him a lot. And then it was like my friend Portia. She was just like, "Hey, I'm thinking about flying Slugcrest out for a show. I want you to open." Yeah. And I was like, "Great, thank you."
Yeah.
So yeah, we had that 228. Had Ken Groceries come out and Slug. Slug was super cool. Yeah, hung out with him the night before. He was so down to earth. The best thing, he was like, "Hey, just fly me there. Pay the small fee. And I don't even worry about a hotel room. Just get me an air mattress and I'll sleep on the floor." And I'm like, I respect that.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. For
real. Shout out to 228 Gallery. I just went there for the first time last night to see Lord Lawrence. I saw 3 a.m. I missed G. Swenson, but those were like the top 3 who I knew, and I was like, I gotta get there. I got the end of 3 a.m. So shout out to 228.
Such a cool venue.
I think they're a pretty new venue, and they have a lot of really cool art. They have a lot of cool art up. My friend Scam is going to do an art show there pretty soon. So shout out to them. Anyway, back to the music. Speaking of music, do you want to perform a song?
I'd love to perform a song.
All right, let's go.
Okay, this is my song Sun God off my project The Decapitation of the Whack MCs.
Let's get it.
Gotta get the headphones on? Okay, we going.
Ready, Philip?
I like how I have so many songs that talk about being on the mic, but my mic technique is terrible.
Well, it's amazing how many musicians come on our show and they don't talk into the mic.
Yeah, you're not the first.
But I think they're used to holding it, and doing this whole
thing. And you can hear yourself usually. You can't hear yourself on this.
So you can tell if you're not loud enough in your mic.
Yeah. I've never rapped on like a show like this, so like, I'm excited. Let's do this shit. Wanna rock the mic, spit around like the sun god, hot like a dumb blonde. All I do is conquer. I'm on my offense, you better take caution. Motherfucking beast, yo, with my Emma Watson, colder than a coffin. Much kill the beat, hope it don't weigh on my conscience. To be completely honest, I'm a sonic supersonic, more bonic than onyx. I'll smoke a rapper like the Chronic. I got the schemes like a mad villain. Call me Hillary Clinton, cause I'm mad chillin'. About to stack that shit up. You just cap like a Trump. Yeah, I'm slapping her rump. She go jacked it like a hey, Alchemist album out, count the hits. I said, Alchemist album out, count the hits. Wanna rock the mic, spit around like the sun god. My shit a new college dropout, no cap. I hope you know that the shit ain't just a throwback. My magnum opus, overdosing from dopeness. Bro, the Shakespeare floating, stand strong like Stonehenge. Face my opponents taking over like the Romans. I'm an aqueduct flowing. My shit crazy like Caligula. I'm the illest when I pillage and I'm spitting articulate. It's ridiculous, flyer than Icarus. Watch me silence the ignorant. Yo, I'm the motherfucking GOAT. I ain't fucking with these rappers like I buy in bulk. Yeah, I heard your last tape. That shit was utter trash. You don't wanna smoke, it's a mustard gas. Hey! Yeah, that was it.
Hey!
Sun God.
Nice. I really like the lyrics.
No.
They had me laughing, the Hillary Clinton part.
I'm so glad you recognized the meme.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, no, I've never rapped on a thing like this, so that was nerve-wracking, but thank you.
I mean, you have a very small audience here, so and the live audience that we have, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit more about that song? Like what inspired that song?
So that was definitely.
Gotta make out with it.
This is just gonna be a meme the entire time. Tristan can't find the mic.
Worst things to not be able to find.
True.
Originally it was the subtle reminders, and now it's just being.
Now I'm just moving the mic.
Thank you.
Here, let me hold that for you.
But yeah, no, that was one of the songs that like most of those lyrics were written in 2018, and then some of them were like a lot of it was 2018, and then I had a big like document, a Google Doc of like 30 pages. No, like 10 pages. And it was just all random lyrics I didn't know what to do with. So I started like trying to like just copy and paste stuff to different folders to figure out like, okay, this is going here, this is going here. So then after that, I was like, okay, cool. I have certain things that I started, certain things that are like finished, and then some of this is like couplets that were started, things need to be finished. So like 75% of that song was written in 2018, and then the other 25% was stuff that was created in the last like 3 months as whole fillers, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I think,
I feel like some of the stuff that I came up with recently is honestly better. And I wanted to keep it true to the original, but then some of the new stuff, I'm like, okay, this is actually really good, and this is tying the old with the new well. So
yeah. So we don't have a whole lot of time left, and we decided that we weren't going to do segments anymore, but I do want to ask one of our old school questions before we go.
I love an old school question.
Yeah, what would be your hell loop song? A song that would be playing in hell that would just torture you? Just like playing over and over and over
this
again?
Question. I remember when I've seen you ask the question multiple times, and I was like, I'm going to prepare, and then I didn't prepare. Oh no.
Well, if you have been watching, you'll know that mine is Lou Bega, Mambo No. 5. And it was funny because I was listening to just like a radio station that, played a lot of, or it was based off my radio stations. It was like a radio station based off my other music on my Spotify account. And that song came on. I was like, what the hell? Like, literally, what the hell?
What the hell?
Why is this happening to me? Is this a sign? Anyway, so did that give you time to think of yours?
Okay. So I'm struggling to think of one, but I will say, I think, so I used to hate on music a lot. I used to run a blog where I'd review albums, and I would do worst lists and best lists. So I was very much in critic mind at one point, and I would shed a lot of stuff, but I feel like I've gotten to the point where it's really hard for me to shit on someone's art. And there's not a lot that really annoys me.
It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't like the song.
True.
But there's some songs that I really like that I wouldn't want to hear over and over and over
So I will say, the one kind of song that like really bugs me, because I can listen to almost anything and feel like it's a vibe if it's the right circumstance.
Sure.
But if something feels like it was made in a factory for a purpose, that makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And anytime I hear music that feels really soulless, that's just like, that doesn't feel
they're
like
just trying
art.
to make money.
It just feels like it's like, I don't know. And there's a lot of music that like, I think the worst thing you can do in my book is not be interesting. If you try to make something interesting and it fails, that is better than if you don't try to make something interesting.
Than having like a ticky-tacky song.
It's like, say, my favorite movie of all time is The Room, directed by Tommy Wiseau. And that is a movie that is atrocious. But it is my favorite movie of all time. I've never laughed more at a movie. I have seen it in theaters 3 times.
It's so bad that it's good.
I've seen the movie. I've seen The Room 7 times. I don't watch movies more than twice, ever.
Yeah, same.
And it's like, why did I do this? And it's like, because, there's something there of...
He was trying to be interesting.
He tried something. He tried something, it failed, but then because it failed in one way, it succeeded in a different way.
Sure.
And it's now
an unexpected way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's a really cool perspective.
What about a song that you could hear over and over again? And I'll list mine. And I know that I can hear them over and over again because I used to go to this arcade and they would have a jukebox that would play the same music over and over again. I got Friends in Low Places and Hotel California. I could have those 2 on loop forever and be okay with it. I'd probably get a little
Hotel
annoyed.
California.
Yeah, pretty maddening. I don't know about that one. It's a song about being in an insane asylum. So I don't know. I guess there's. I don't know. I guess happy.
Really?
Your Hell Loop song, or
that's probably be my Hell Loop song.
Okay. So I thought you were saying it was the song that you wanted to listen to.
No,
and I'm like,
I did.
How did you just choose Happy?
Yeah, no, I don't know. We were talking about it yesterday on a podcast, and it's a pretty maddening song.
I'm not gonna crap on anybody's song.
But yeah, I'm trying to think. There's a song, Modern Man's Hustle by Atmosphere. That's a really good song that I could probably listen to.
Solid.
A couple times,
I'm thinking of blank the name of it. The Chemical Brothers Beth Orton song. Sunday morning, I'm waking up. Don't even have time for my coffee cup. Don't even know whose bed I'm in. Where do I start? Where do I begin? That song. That is a beautiful song.
I don't think I've heard it, but it sounds beautiful. From what you're saying of it.
Oh, that's dope.
You have one last question?
My one last question would be, what's something that you said this is one of your first podcasts? What's something that you haven't really shared with the world that you want to say on this podcast for the first time? So something a little off the record.
So I've done one podcast before, and I don't know what I said there because I was too scared to watch the tape.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know. I'm autistic, and I don't know, like just putting that out there into the world.
To do with your auditory sensory stuff.
Yes, that is totally tied to it.
I was kind of thinking about that, but I don't want to assume. I think everybody is honestly on the spectrum.
So I think so.
They should be if they want to be cool.
And yeah, I don't know, like. That's been something I've been trying to embrace more because I feel like there's only a few artists I can think of that are there's only a few people with autism who I feel like I even know of who are making music that are like advertising that they have autism.
That are advertising, yeah.
And there's got to be more people who are undercover.
Yeah. But no, I know a lot of, I can think of a lot of at least people on the spectrum or that have what's it called? Bipolar who are musicians. I think that's pretty common because I don't feel like I have either of those things really, but I do get in these, I call them my creative modes where I'll just it's almost like mania, but it's just creative stuff. I'll just have this flood of, and Zane knows all too well. Some days it'll just be constant messages hey, we should do this project. We should da. And I think that's,
we should start a bank.
That, that sort of, I guess, I don't know, weirdos end up being creatives.
I'm such a weirdo, and I feel like
not saying you are. I'm saying I am.
I am, and I'll say that weirdos are cool, and so I guess my statement to the world is embrace weirdos and shout out to weirdos.
You know what? Yeah,
absolutely.
Love y'all.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on our show. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a treat talking with you and getting to share your music. And I've really enjoyed checking out what I've checked out.
Yeah, don't forget to shout out your socials.
Okay,
mine's Carissa Des on all platforms.
Yep,
so
it's Zane Thomas.
Make sure you follow us Off the Cuff with Des and Zane also. So follow us so you know what's going on and who's up next on our show.
Yep, and then
we're all up next.
Yeah, we're all up next, baby.
Yeah, socials. Falling Alice _ on Instagram, Falling Alice pretty much everywhere else, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon, Apple, wherever the fuck, SoundCloud, Bandcamp. I need to get my Spotify listeners up. So if you can follow me on Spotify, that would be awesome.
Also get your Pandora back up and running, folks.
Yes. Everyone has to. Pro tip.
Bust that out.
Yep. All right. Thank you. Have a great day, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
I've been Carissa Des.
I've been Zane Thomas.
I've been Falling Alice.
And this is Off the Cuff.
See
you next time.